What's up, y'all? It's your girl, Sarah from Sarah Styles here. We are going live tonight with Rebecca from Florida and Melissa Mint Moose. I am so grateful to have them here. I am doing a tax accounting bookkeeping live session. The person that I had planned to do it, actually something came up and they're not able to make it. So they graciously said they're going to come on and we are going to talk about how we do our bookkeeping and how we do our taxes. I am a reseller on lots of different platforms, eBay, Tradesies, Etsy, I don't know, all the platforms. And then I also have a dashboard, two dashboards for the reseller. I do data analytics. So if you like content like this, make sure Make sure to subscribe and hit the little notification so you get notified when new content comes out. If you are watching this live with us right now, you can comment and we will respond back to you. If you are watching this as a replay, definitely make sure to comment down below with any questions that you have, and I will get back to you. Whew, that's my mouthful to get us started. So we have a lot of stuff to talk about today. I am going to quickly introduce these women, I should quit saying girls. Quickly introduce these women. Mint Moose, Melissa has been on before, but I will, for those of you that are new to the channel, introduce her as well. We'll start with Rebecca, closest to me. Rebecca from Florida has been selling on eBay since 2015, and she started eBay. My husband is the only one on right now. I make him do like the tech and make sure like we're actually doing like 10 weird comments. She has been on eBay since 2015. She has been on Posh starting in 2019 and been full-time for roughly a year. And she didn't tell me this, but I know because we're friends on Instagram. She has 2 kids that she stays home with as well. And what's funny, we were actually talking yesterday about like taxes and bookkeeping and just like in a general conversation. And then today I was like, I need someone to like talk about this on my live. And so I reached out to her and she was like, yeah, sure, let's talk about it. So this is Rebecca. If there's anything that I forgot or you want to let us know about anything else, introduce yourself, anything else, or we'll move on to Melissa.
We're good.
You're good? All right. I got it all in. So this is Melissa. If you've watched, she did a mom reseller panel with me. Definitely check that one out. It was such a fun panel to do, and lots of moms have the best time efficiency tips ever. I learned things because you're trying to juggle all of the things. So definitely watch that. She did that one with me. And then I reached out to her like 8 hours ago and was like, help, can you come on? She's very diligent with her bookkeeping, and I know that she thinks that she has value in it. So I don't know exactly how she does it. I'm interested to learn how both of them do that as well. I am going to throw the disclaimer out there before we get started. None of us are CPAs. We are not tax accountants. We have no professional knowledge in this. It is just what we do for our business. That being said, Rebecca's mom is a CPA. So if questions come up that we cannot answer, I will make sure to have Rebecca reach out to her mom. Or if you're watching this as a recording and you have a question, leave comments down below and we'll make sure to get that answered. I am trying to get a tax accountant CPA on. So if you are one, reach out to me. And you want to do a live. But I thought it was valuable. I mean, this is why I like doing the lives. There is so much important information in the community of how we're all doing it. And I wanted real life people to be on to share this with us. So let's get into it. I feel like I'm talking a whole lot for this to be a panel. So I'm going to get started. And I think I'm just going to ask questions and you can jump in if you feel like you need to go first or whatever. Sometimes we go in line and I feel like it is a bit structured. So do you have a separate business account and why or why not?
So I do not currently have a separate business account, like a bank account, but I do have a separate PayPal. I was keeping it together for the longest time, but I'm really anal about making sure I know exactly how much cash comes from eBay, exactly how much cash comes from Poshmark. So it didn't really matter to me. I would just pass on the information to my husband. He'd know what to do with that cash, and we'd call it a day. As I get bigger, like in 2020, I think I probably will need to open a business account, maybe have a business credit card. I'd be interested in hearing what you guys have if you have a credit card for business too.
Yeah. And Melissa is wrangling her 3 children and on mute. So if she seems distracted, it's because she is a mom as well as a reseller. So we can just see you kind of moving around. So I wanted to give the disclaimer that that's what Melissa is also doing. Melissa, do you have a business account?
I do. I have a separate bank account for my reselling, and the reason I do that is I just like having that separate. I use the QuickBooks app on my phone, and it's connected to my bank account, so it helps me keep track of what's business versus personal, and I wouldn't be able to do that as easily if I had my home and business income combined into one account. So
and this is one of the questions, but it like interfaces with it, right? So it'll go through and like Amazon is an expense and Poshmark is a revenue, so it makes it easier. Where if you had it on your personal account, it would be like groceries and mortgage and
exactly.
So
yeah.
Oh, that's a valid point. I've actually thought of I'm so cheap. I think as resellers we innately are a little bit cheap, right? Because we thrift to some point. So I personally do not have a business account. And a couple of reasons for this. The main one is, and shout out to my husband because I know he's watching, is he does all the finances. And he is like OCD anal about it. And if I had a business account that he wasn't looking at all the time, I don't know that it would get balanced as well as he does it. So I'm hesitant to not let him do it anymore. Although I will say he doesn't love it. And probably at least once a month, he's like, Sarah, what is going on here? Like, and it is, and I don't know if you find this, it's always PayPal. The PayPal things, like when a return and it's pending and half of it's like, it just always, it drives me nuts. Lulu Hader says she loves her business credit card for the cash back, and I pay it off every month. And I was going to say, I have looked at a business account, and then also I would probably also do a credit card. And for our regular finances, we just buy everything on a credit card and get some points and then pay that back every month. So for business, I would do that as well. I don't know. I probably do. And I think I'm getting big enough, like Melissa, that the easier. That's my 2 cents. Okay, so now let's go into special, like, I mean, you're doing reselling, we're full-time resellers, this is like your legit thing. Are there like my husband said PayPal reconciling is a pain. It's like what we fight about every week.
Yeah, it is.
It's chaos. So, and if you only do eBay, so eBay interfaces with Big Daddy? Did you do that, Rebecca?
No.
Okay, so my brother-in-law only does eBay, and it interfaces with Big Daddy, which is kind of like QuickBooks, and it all works together. So he doesn't have to do anything, but Poshmark doesn't interface with it.
Oh, I didn't know that. I'm going to write that down and look into it.
Yeah, but I think QuickBooks interfaces with your bank account, so then it can work for anything.
Yes.
So I think for most people that I've heard, that's what people do. Doreen Ranelli says, I do Poshmark and eBay. I can always see when where a deposit comes from, but I am sure there are some bonus benefits to having a business account, I think when you start to do a lot more.
Like if I buy anything business related, it's super easy to just see a list of all my transactions, and I just swipe it as personal or business. And then I can further categorize a business purchase as advertising or like a miscellaneous business account. And so when it came time to do taxes this year, I literally just had QuickBooks email me a report, and all my stuff was already broken down because I had done that already throughout the year. And so that's where having, for me at least, the private, like separate account was super helpful, because I didn't have to go back and like dig through all that stuff from my personal bank account.
So Melissa, are you paying a monthly fee for the QuickBooks, or is that a yearly fee?
I pay $5 a month for it.
Oh, that's not bad at all.
And it's super, well, I mean, you can write that off, and it's just like so helpful. I have a link in my link tree on Instagram.
And her link tree, so Melissa and Rebecca's link trees are down below.
Okay.
Oh, thank you.
Does it interface only with like a checking account, or would it interface with a credit card? Or do you know?
I don't know, but it interfaces with my my whole, like, my checking and my 2 savings accounts, so I can move money around and it keeps track of all that for me too.
That's a decent. I might look into that. So, and we'll get into it. I'm going to show you, if we have time, I'm going to show you my ridiculous spreadsheet that my husband actually built me for. It's essentially a QuickBooks to track everything, but it's very manual. And so now I'm very intrigued. Because then maybe my husband wouldn't have to do it all the time. And we wouldn't have to fight every weekend over it. Okay, so oh yes, he says QuickBooks sounds nice.
Yeah.
Oh, but he likes the control of looking at the finances and setting it up. So we're a business. Are there, for people who are new or don't know, and even me, are there like special business licenses that you have, or like a federal tax, like all of the state government type things you guys have? Do you need to have any of that? Do you have any of that, like a tax ID, like anything that you have to apply for? Do you guys have any of that, or can you just resell and then file taxes?
So you don't need to have any of that, but I think it's convenient when you reach a certain point. This is where, like, I've talked to my mom about the differences. Should I incorporate myself, or, become an LLC, or what should I do? And she said, well, you're an independent contractor. I started on eBay. So eBay provides me with tax information automatically once you hit 200 sales or $20,000 in sales. So far that's fine. But of course, as I grow, I'm sure Melissa probably has some sort of status, I assume, with business. Yeah. Or no?
No, actually, when you start up, as far as I'm not legal advice, but you are considered federally to be a sole proprietorship. So you don't have to apply for any of those things because you're sole proprietorship. In the state of Colorado, I think they just want you to form like a trade name, like get a trade name license, and that was like $20.
Yeah, and then, with the Secretary of State, right? That's what you're talking, like, to have your
yeah. But you don't
like basically say that you're a business.
Yeah, Florida actually has something like that too. I think it's a little more expensive, but my mom mentioned that as well. We just haven't done anything yet.
Yeah. So I will say, for me, as you know, my name is Sarah Stiles, LLC. The sole reason for doing this, I used to do hair out of my house. And so I had it. So the LLC protects you, like it's saying that I'm separate from my business. So like if I slipped and hurt someone or cut someone's ear, or, and they tried to come after me and it was in my house, they would come after the business assets and not my personal assets. As a reseller, my understanding, we are not lawyers, we are not CPAs, so take this and then talk to professionals. My understanding, and in talking to my CPA, I still keep the LLC because I branded myself LLC for like 10 years. And so I don't want to have to rebrand it. And then it also protects me because I do like some consulting and stuff. But if you're working as like, technically we're working under eBay or Poshmark, they hold the liability. And so as long as you're working under them, they have the liability. When you start to sell like via Instagram, or you have your own shop, you're no longer protected under them. And that's where you kind of would need to think about doing some other kind of insurance so that you are a business and not, because we're protected under the bigger name. But I do think every state is different, and then what you're doing is different as well. And then I did want to touch on a reseller license, because I looked at getting that this year, because I did sell some things like privately. And my understanding in Colorado is you have to sell so much to charge sales tax, because right now like eBay is doing it for us. But if you were to do it like through Instagram, do I have to collect sales tax? And I didn't sell enough to have to collect it. But that is something to keep in mind if you are out there and you're trying to build your own business on the side, or you do a lot of Instagram type sales, something to keep in mind too. And I actually quit doing a lot of side sales because it's a lot more bookkeeping. Like, I just want to hit deposit from Poshmark. I mean, they take 20%, but like, to me, it's worth it to not have to deal with all of that. And the insurance, like, they can't return it. They can't like any of that. Okay, so now let's get in a little bit, and we've kind of talked a little bit, but Rebecca, you use your mom, so she's kind of your CPA, right? And she files your taxes for you. But do you manage all of your stuff, and then at the end of the year, she will do them for you?
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm an adult. I don't live with her anymore or anything.
Yeah.
So my husband and I have to put all of our stuff together and give it to her. So I give her, I mean, basically at the moment, my sales aren't big enough where she needs to double check some of my things. And I'm not claiming deductions that are too big. She said, and again, I'm not a CPA, but she said that the time that you're going to be looked at more is when you're claiming really large deductions, or you're claiming your Starbucks every time you go thrifting. Your Starbucks should not be, one of your deductions. That's when you're going to start possibly being looked at. But
my CPA said the same. My CPA said the same thing. He was like, if you absolutely have to eat out when you're out because you had no other choice, like, every once in a while is fine. But if you're claiming all the time, then like, oh yeah.
Yeah, she was just saying that those are the things that you get looked at for: the entertainment, the meals, and that the regular business expenses aren't the things you're going to be looked at as much. So I really just put my spreadsheet together, put everything together. I have my receipts. She doesn't really need them. And then I give her all of my information. And having a CPA is important because they know the tax laws in your state and federally. Mm-hmm. And they can say, oh, if you do this, you'll get this deduction. Or have you thought about this thing that you probably haven't thought about because that's not what you went to college for?
Agreed. And I use a CPA as well. Not my mom, but the laws change every year. And the first time that we did it, we kind of did it ourselves, and then he also did it. And even with paying him, we saved more money because he knew how to do it and time. I mean, it takes me like 10 to 12 hours a day just to like do it all. Someone did ask, would that be your closet name? And I'm assuming you mean your business. And that's completely up to you what you would want to trademark or not trademark. That being said, I do have a trademark lawyer who I'm going to have on the show. So to learn all about that stuff too. But as far as like filing with the state of secure or filing with this state, I can be whatever you want. If you want, if you haven't started it yet and you do want to build a brand, I would really think about that before you do it, because that's what's going to be everywhere. And part of why I have the LLC in my name is because there are other Sarah Styles out there. And so I had to distinguish myself so I could have the same on all of the different so if you're going to do it, I would just really research and make sure that it's on all the platforms that you can do it. And it's really something that I don't love my logo, but I'm kind of committed to it now. And so make sure that it's something that you want, but it can be anything. It can be, your dog's name for all, whatever you want to call yourself. So Melissa, do you use a CPA or you do it yourself?
I did it myself this year.
Yeah,
but I was on Instagram a lot. I was following and watching Not Your Dad's CPA, and anytime he did a live with people within the community, I was on there watching and getting tips from him, and that helped phenomenally with getting taxes done this year. So, and then I ended up having a question, and I asked him, and he answered me and was super cool about it. So,
oh, nice.
Yeah.
So when you do it yourself, are you using like QuickBooks?
I went and got QuickBooks, the TurboTax for business and home, and we just filed like all of it together.
Are you done?
Yeah, we did it last weekend.
Oh my God, Melissa, get out of here. I'm getting rid of you. I've just thought about like getting it together.
My husband is all about getting it done, like at the beginning of the year.
But we got stuck with the flu. Otherwise, we probably him. So I do want to know, Liz did say that Quicken Oh, Quicken is cheaper than QuickBooks. So she switched from QuickBooks to Quicken, and it also interfaces with everything. And then, she buys it from Costco, and there's like an annual price if you do it from Costco, but it is much simpler to use than QuickBooks. So there's that. I haven't used any of them.
I would say that I've used QuickBooks in the past for like bookkeeping for other businesses, and it just the app is like you're not getting all that stuff. You're literally just connecting it to your bank account and swiping, is this personal, is this business, and what category is this on a business expense, and then it tracks mileage. So it doesn't have like any of the other like super fancy stuff you would get with QuickBooks. So
like what kind of fancy things?
QuickBooks can do literally anything. It'll run reports for you. It can manage your inventory, pay employees. It does it all. So if you have a small business or a business of a moderate size, I would guess, like QuickBooks is for you.
Okay.
Plus, if you do end up using this and then you also have a CPA or an accountant, your CPA or accountant would be the person to ask. Do you use QuickBooks? Do you use Quicken? I know my mom uses QuickBooks, but I'm sure other CPAs use different things. So maybe asking what your tax professional uses if you're using one.
Yeah, that's good advice.
That's a valid point. Okay, so I think we've talked about softwares that we use. You use that. Is there anything else? Like I use a spreadsheet, and that's it. And if we have time, what time is it? If we have time, I'll show it to you guys. It's a beast. I kind of note on it a little bit in some of my videos, but we essentially only use. That's it. And then we give the information to our CPA, and he does all the things. So, what about you, Rebecca?
It's the same. I just made my own spreadsheet out of necessity, and yours is probably way more intricate than mine, but it does the job.
Yeah, it's starting to get more complex as I'm adding platforms and different venues of income, where I'm sure me and my husband will be having a talk after this about if we want to switch over, because he is my CFO, whether he wanted to or not. He was elected by me. So Melissa, what do you use? Anything else? I think you mentioned you use.
I have a spreadsheet. Yes.
So what is in the spreadsheet that is not in the QuickBooks?
So on my spreadsheet, I track my inventory on there, my cost of goods, my sales, and profit and all that. So
not so much like the financial data, but more like the sales stuff's doing. Okay.
Yeah, so I have like a graph that shows me like each month my gross sales, my net sales, and my ROI percentage, how much I made, how much I spent on inventory, and just.
And there's not reports like that QuickBooks has?
I'm sorry, what?
Are there reports like that QuickBooks has? Like, can I love my data.
Probably, yeah, but because I don't have the full like software version on my computer, that is expensive. I do just the phone version for tracking like expenses and mileage, and then I use the spreadsheet for tracking, my cash flow and income versus expenses and that kind of stuff. So
okay. That's interesting. Okay. Yeah, right. Okay, so my next question is, what do you track? And you went over that a little bit. And I don't know if it would be easier if I showed my spreadsheet and we looked at it and you guys can kind of talk about how yours differs and what. I am by no means saying that mine is the only way or that it is the best or that it is even approved by a CPA. I will disclaim, though, that my husband does have a degree in finance and builds dashboards, so it is pretty robust. It's also not as good as he wants it to be, because I'm like, we don't need that information. And he's like, Sarah, like, you kind of do need to know that. And I'm like, I don't care. So he probably is going to be mortified that I'm sharing this because it's not as good as he wants it to be. Before we go, I'm going to put you guys, so I lose you guys once. I'm going to pull you up on YouTube real quick because I can't see you or the questions when I go to my screen. Let's see if it'll do it.
I don't care.
Oh, there we go. Talking to myself on, that's weird. Okay. Okay. So this is, let me share what happened. Oh, share my screen. I've never done this before. Hold on. Sorry. This might be a little chaotic. Oh, Melissa, my husband likes the kids' special guest. I don't want him to get any funny ideas that that's going to happen.
Oh, mine are screaming in the background. I'm trying really hard to keep it in control.
No, you're doing a great job of managing them all. I would like be yelling and screaming. No,
I am. That's why I'm muting.
It's like too, right? They're probably were super quiet before, and now they're like,
oh yeah,
mommy's on. Okay, did it share? Is it shared?
Yes.
You can. Okay, there's a delay on YouTube, so we'll see how this goes. Okay, so this is it essentially, and I show this in my reports or in my videos sometimes, just like the end of it. I do want to note that we've had the flu. And so this is not at all accurate for February right now. But on a normal basis, so this is my tracker, what I go in and do, every single thing that comes in and out of my business goes into here. So I have not shopped at all this month. I put this thrift store in just so that you could see inventory. Can you guys see that well enough? Is that better? Is that better?
So I'm looking on my phone at the same time I'm looking here.
Yeah, I know. I don't know if this is, we'll see how this goes. I've never done this before. Hopefully people can see it.
Okay. Tell us in the comments. Can you see it?
Oh yeah. Can you guys see it? I'll make it bigger if. Okay, so I go in and this is where I think having the app like Melissa uses would be helpful. I go in and if I'm at the thrift store and I spend $300, I put that in the spreadsheet. And then it will categorize if it's inventory or revenue or marketing or, the different types of things that you need to file your taxes. And then I go in, I don't track every single item. My CPA was like, you don't need all of that information. I just need how much inventory you have left at the end of the year and how much you've sold at the end of the year. So I go in and track and this is made up, but for the thrift store, it would be, I spent $300 and I had 25 items. And then the same for like Poshmark, I put in $64 and it was for one item. Does that make sense? Are we good?
Sarah, when are you claiming the cost of your inventory at time of purchase or at time of sale?
That's a great question, and why I have a CPA. He asked us at the end of the year, he wants to know, and I haven't talked to him again since we did this last year. So if we did this in like a year or in a month or two, I probably could tell you this better. But at the end of the year, he wants to know how much inventory I still have on hand that has not sold, and then how much inventory I have that has sold.
Okay.
If that makes sense. So I don't know if you could answer that question, how we're doing it.
I have no idea. I'm just asking.
Yeah, I have no idea. I know there's so many different ways, and when I first started doing this, I tried to watch a couple of videos and I was like, I'm not an accountant. I have no desire to be an accountant. I don't want to learn this nonsense. And so I found an accountant and was like, you tell me what you need at the end of the month or end of the year. And he's like, I need 5 numbers. And I was like, cool, let's do this. But I do go in every single time that I make a transaction in or out and track it here. But then it goes over, so that's the tracking. And then it goes over to, oh, so Liz says accrual is what I'm doing. Thanks, Liz. I just know what my CPA told me he needed, which is why I pay him to do it.
Now it's nighttime.
It seems like we needed Liz on here. She knows all the things. She used the deluxe version and it was fine. All my credit cards and bank accounts updated with the push of a button, and I pay my bills from it online too.
She said she uses Quicken.
Let me go. I don't know. Let me see.
Liz, are you accountant?
Hide and seek.
I know Liz, she has the dashboard. She has owned her own business for like 12 years.
Oh, so okay.
And so she may have accounting background, but I don't know if she's an actual. So she said there is accrual and cash ways of tracking, and most resellers will be fine using cash type.
Yeah, okay.
Whatever that means.
I think it means you're deducting the cost of your inventory at the time of purchase, and accrual is you're deducting it at the time of sale. Or the time you get paid for it. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's how I do accrual.
I think based off of kind of what everyone's saying and what I know from what we have to submit, it's accrual. Because he wants to know what I still have left.
Right.
I'm tracking based off of when it sells, right?
Right.
Yeah. And I don't know that there's one way to do it or not. That's better. I think how you track.
As long as you pick a way the IRS wants you to stick out that way for the year.
Yes, right. That's kind of
I got asked that when I did my taxes, if I had changed how I was claiming my inventory, like deducting my inventory, if it had changed at all during the year. So I think whichever one you do, you need to do for that whole year.
And that's why I think it's important to track your inventory and track your ins and outs, and however you decide to do it with some kind of accountant advice, do it all the same and just be very diligent in how you do it. Because I think most times when you get an audit or something, as long as you can like show them that like this is what's happening, that's what they want to see. Okay, so then this goes in, and from here, this is essentially what we would send the CPA. And this is also what I look at. I don't want to be that person, but I am. I look at it almost every night before I go to bed because I'm like, oh, how am I doing for the month? And this is, I'm going to say again, this is not accurate because we've been sick with the flu. So I have not like been keeping up on this. And then I just put in that bins trip so that you can see. But I do track, so then it'll come in for every month and do your items bought, the items I've sold, and then this is the items that I would have on hand. At the end of the year, it'll tell me how many items are on hand. And my husband says, oh, wait. Yeah, and my husband says what you have left matters for depreciation as well, which makes sense. So you do have to keep an idea of how much you have left at the end of the day too. And so I track my average item sale and my average item cost so that at the end of the year, I can say, okay, on average, I'm spending this much on an item. This is how much inventory I have left. This is my revenue that I still have in the bank. My average margin, this is just to see how I'm doing. Again, this is just made up numbers at this point, essentially, because I made up that bins trip and I don't have all my data in there for the month. But this average margin is one of the big numbers that I look on a normal basis to see how I'm trending, because that's how much money I'm making on average, how much, what I bought it for and what it sold for, how much am I making on average per item. And if you watch my videos, you see a lot that I talk a lot about average sale price. That's how I shop. Oh, Liz, we should have had you on here, girl, next time. She says, I've gone through 2 major IRS audits, the books for our $1 million a year business with payroll, taxes, lots of vendors, office space, vehicles, and company-owned rental. All right, Liz, I'm writing your name down.
I want to know all the things Liz knows.
No. I knew she ran her own business. I didn't know it was to this extent. So I'm definitely going to see if she wants to come on. Okay, and you guys can touch base too if you are tracking things the same or differently, or questions you have. I can't really see you guys. I'm just
This is great, but don't get overwhelmed out there if you're a smaller reseller and you're not tracking as intensely. My spreadsheet.
Do you have yours? Do you want to show yours?
I don't have it on. I mean, I like printed it out so in case we talked about it, but I didn't end up blacking it all out for everyone. But I can do that later and send it to you, and you can, release it.
I'll put it in my stories.
Yeah, it's really simple. But I do a lot of manual tracking because I think eBay tends to skew your numbers a little. It looks like your sales are really high, but they incorporate their fees in your sale prices. They it's skewed, and I don't like that. I like to see like my actual cash in my pocket. So I do a lot at the end of the month of keeping track of that. And
well, and mine goes through like further down, it takes out all the fees. And because I agree with eBay, because they have, you don't get the fees until the end of the month. And you're like, oh, I killed it. Oh crap, I have to.
But no, I did. Yeah. Like
I still did good, but like I still have to pay them.
Right. Which is fine. I don't mind paying eBay these fees. They help me sell all this stuff. I appreciate it. I just don't want to get all really excited about this huge number when really it's like 2/3 of that, or, you know, closer to half. So my spreadsheet is much more simple, but I'm not taking in as much money maybe as Sarah. She's been doing this longer. Like,
no, you probably don't have an anal husband who has built you like you should see our dashboard or our spreadsheet for just our personal finances. I mean, there's like 17 tabs and like charts and like, I mean, he has like spreadsheets for workouts. Like, it's not because I am anything.
Well, if you're watching this and you don't have a crazy spreadsheet, you can still track everything simply. You know, I love the idea of the QuickBooks that Melissa's talking about, because then you don't have to do much of the work, because QuickBooks will do it for you. And then I just kind of made my own spreadsheet, and I'm like typing into Google, how do I add the numbers in this column? So mine is really simple, because it's literally like this column plus this column equals this, and this minus this. So it's, you know, I don't have any graphs on mine.
And this is actually a valid point, because Amy is asking too if I could share the spreadsheet. And I've been asked a lot for it, or also like to release something. And because I'm not a I don't have a financial background or an accountant, I don't want that liability. But I have thought for the users, and I know Amy's in the group, of doing maybe like a class, like just a simple class of how you build a spreadsheet. And then you guys would have the base knowledge on how to build a spreadsheet. And then you could kind of tweak it for your own financial needs, if that's something that people would be interested in.
I mean, I'd love to take my spreadsheet and make it better. And, you know, I don't really know some of these things that I should be adding to it, like the stuff you're talking about tonight. I'm like, oh, I should add some of that to my spreadsheet, but it's more complicated. So
it is.
I like that idea of a class.
Yeah, I might do. So we do if you have the dashboard, we do a monthly live and learn, and I'm always open to new ideas. I'm going to start to do them as like a conference call, so we can like all talk to each other. It's not just me talking and hoping people are listening, because I want it to be a community. But I think I might do something like that, because I don't want to I don't have a problem with giving people my spreadsheet, but it's very specific to me. And I don't want to also be like, oh, well, like Sarah gave this to me and she's an accountant. No, like, I'm just making it up as I go too, based off of what my CPA is telling me he needs. But valid point. What was I going to say? Oh, so I do go down. I mean, and I think to Rebecca's point, you kind of just like, I started on Etsy and upcycling, and I had, you know, a couple columns, and then I was like, well, I want to see this. And now he's asking, you know, it's slowly grown. But then if you use a software, they know all the things that you need to see. And so I'm sure that they have it all in all the categories and broken out, and reports that you want to see. So if it's not something I like having the control, my husband likes having the control, we like spreadsheets, but if it's not your realm of expertise, I think a software is definitely the way to go. Because if you are making money, you do have to claim it. Like, they will find you, especially, you know, on these bigger platforms, they'll know that you're making it. Melissa, any input? What is your spreadsheet? What are you?
I actually bought mine from a gal, Everyday Emily, last year, but I don't think she sells them anymore. And she built it, and pretty much it's just what I use. So she has all these super fancy like formulas in there and stuff that tracks numbers from one spreadsheet to another. And so anyway.
Is it specific to resellers or small business? Oh, okay.
Yeah, she did it specific to resellers. So it also tracks eBay, Poshmark, Mercari, and Etsy. But I only use it for Poshmark and Mercari.
Oh, but then if you had other platforms, then it would. Interesting.
Well, that's why, Sarah, if you teach people how to create one, we can add platforms, because like I thought I was only going to sell on eBay forever. And then a friend in this who's watching this video right now convinced me to get on Poshmark, and she was so right. So, and now I'm like, maybe I should be on Etsy for my vintage. So as I'm growing, I'm like, oh, I need to adapt my spreadsheet to these other platforms that I just didn't even know I should be on.
Well, and in business, you're constantly growing and changing. And so I think I'm going to add that too. I've talked about this with some of the other people in the group that they're like, I want to know how to make a spreadsheet. And I'm like, oh, just like Google it. But I think having someone who can like specifically, and it would be very basic and simple, but then you would have the basic skills, and then you say, oh, I did this already. I want to add another one.
Right.
I know how to do this now, specific to my needs. Someone asked about Airtable. Says it works like a spreadsheet, but gives you the power of a database to organize anything. I haven't heard of that. Is it like Access? I've never heard of Airtable.
I think building a spreadsheet is easy, but formulas can be hard if you want to do really complicated stuff. So if you have knowledge of complicated formulas, Sarah, with your husband being in finance, that would be kind of cool to share.
I think we know how to Google really well too. The amount of Googling I did to build a dashboard, I was like, I know how to do this. Like, how do I do this? But then I know how to read the formulas to know how to like change it to my stuff too. Okay, so that I don't know that I want to do much more into my spreadsheet unless people want it. I don't want it to be overwhelming to people, but it essentially just goes through and breaks down all of, like, it'll take out the expenses, and it holds, so we hold, our CPA tells us the average number of taxes, and we hold those aside every month so that we're not like hit at the end of the year. Like,
oh, okay.
And how do you guys handle do you do quarterly or annually? And how do you handle your taxes?
Let's play a guessing game.
Like having money on hand.
Yeah.
I'm doing it annually, and I'm just, we have cash on hand just in general. So we just kind of prepare for the fact that I'm going to have to pay something. I think this year too, 2019 will be a big indicator of what it will be like in the future. So we'll probably start planning for it in 2020 as I go, because 2019 was a big reseller year for me. So the numbers will be way different than they were previously.
Well, and when you're starting too, you tend to have a lot more like upfront costs. So then you can take out a lot more deductions. But like when you kind of find the groove, you minus inventory shouldn't have like that many upfront costs, which is good and bad, because then you're bringing home more, but you also pay more taxes. So it's like, Melissa, how about you?
So I file annually right now, and I just set aside 30% of my net profits every month, and I just put that in a separate account, and then that's what I use to pay.
That's essentially what we do as well, and then we get really excited if it's less. If he finds other expenses to take out or does it differently. Okay, we're good on time. I think we've kind of covered everything. Do you guys have other things that you want to talk about, or if there's other questions from the peanut gallery?
I just looked up Airtable. I didn't download it, but it looks like it's a free app. Maybe it has in-app purchases, but it looks like you can get it on your phone. So
interesting. Yeah, she was saying it was a database, or Airtable. Which, like, for our financial data, we don't need a database. But that has me thinking, like, for the dashboard, is that eventually it may get to that point for the dashboard, because I had to break the dashboard into 2 separate dashboards, because Google Sheets is not robust. It's not great. It's free and usable for everybody. And it's nice. So I do use Google Sheets for my spreadsheet because you can use it anywhere. So like my husband can see it on his computer, and I can enter into it on my phone. Like when I'm at the store, I just enter in how much I spent and how many items I got. But it is not, I mean, It's not the most robust software out there by any means. So Liz says when your earnings start to go over probably 25 to 3,000 a month regularly, then the IRS will want an estimate. So essentially, once you start making enough money, they want you paying quarterly or more often. Like they want your money. They don't mind holding on to your money for longer, but they don't want you holding on to it. So that is something to keep in mind if you aren't using an accountant or a CPA to kind of help you know those guidelines. Is once you get to a certain point, you do have to start filing quarterly, or I think you maybe even more frequently than that, depending on your income. Oh, someone else says bring Liz on. I'm going to reach out to Liz. I can't guarantee that she wants to come on, but she knows her stuff. And I asked in the group if anyone wanted to come on tonight, and Liz was silent. I wish she had seen it because she would have been a great addition to this. But I am glad that you joined, Liz. I will definitely reach out to you, and I think you have a lot more information that will be very helpful to us. I do want your guys' opinions and advice on you're a new like what would you tell yourself that you know now to your reseller you just started? From a bookkeeping, inventory, like from this topic, what would you tell yourself a year or 2 years ago when you first started?
Hard question. What would you tell yourself? Why don't you start there?
I know this is one of the questions I didn't prep you guys with, but I was just thinking about it. I think I don't want to admit this because my husband's gonna love it, but listen to my husband more. He finance for a job, and not for small business, but like he knows finance, and I don't. And he is like, we need to track this, we need to look at this. I'm like, I don't care about that. And then as time goes on, I'm like, we should be looking at this. And he's like, you remember like 6 months ago when I told you we should put this in your spreadsheet? I was like, oh yeah. And then another couple of months and he's like, we should look at this, Sarah. And I'm like, I don't care about that. And he's like, but financially like these are things that you need to, from a financial standpoint, like you are a business. And so either listening to my husband or researching and looking more into how to do things on that side from, I don't want to say legit is wrong. Like I'm not being fraudulent or anything, but running a business in the way that a business is meant to be run, to be profitable, to be, you know, all of the things, make sure that you're doing things that you should. Fortunately, I have a husband to listen to, but if I didn't have a husband who knew all to do research, like Melissa is on that YouTube channel all the time, doing her research and knowing what she's doing, and not just like diving in and being like, oh, I wish I had this, you know. That would be my 2 cents.
I would say, yeah, definitely keep track of inventory and what your income is versus like keep track of inventory and basic bookkeeping, because for me, well, you need it for taxes. And then 2, how do you know how profitable you really are if you don't know how much you're spending and how much you're actually making? And you will be shocked at how well you are actually doing or how bad you're doing when you're making more. So
my sister's timing me. Did you guys hear that?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, just you need to know that stuff.
Oh, sorry. Oh, stop. I accidentally connected it. Sorry. I 100% agree with you. And I track, I mean, you guys have seen my spreadsheets. But even to that point, you don't really know. And I think a lot of these purposely do that so that you think that you're doing better than you are, so that you keep doing it. And like, I'm not saying get off the platform to quit reselling, but like there's a reason that Poshmark gives you one number, because $30,000 looks real good, but $30,000 over 6 years when you're putting in 40 hours a week minus taxes. Now my daughter's calling me. Apparently my hour is up. So I definitely agree to that, and knowing how to be profitable.
Yeah, I agree with you guys completely. I think the minute I took this from a hobby to a business, I should have immediately focused on my inventory and spreadsheets and my numbers. Instead, I kind of did it as I was growing. But I agree 100% with the skewed numbers, and that it's very important to know what your actual numbers are, because you might get a readout from Poshmark of like, here's your cash on hand, but you know what your sales are, but they don't do, you know, the shipping. Like, you don't do the shipping, but on eBay you do, and that goes into your, they say it's your profit, but like, I have to pay for shipping, so it's not my profit. Right. And it sounds like maybe some of the other platforms do similar things where the numbers are a little skewed. But yeah, I think just like taking it more seriously as a business the minute I decided it was a business, instead of, oh, it's a business, now what?
Yeah, I totally agree. And that's why I want having all of you guys on here, and what I want it to do with my live. Because I hear a lot of resellers that are like, I'm full-time, I'm doing this as a business, but I don't know that there's a lot of resources out there to help people do it as a business. And I'm not saying, obviously I'm not, because Liz was telling me things that I didn't know, but I'm trying to make this a community so we can all grow and learn together. And it's really astonishing, even if the numbers weren't skewed, but once you take out what you spend on an item and then paying 30 or 40% tax, like if you sell something for $10 and you take $3 fee out and then you spent $3 on it, now you're down to $4 and they're paying 40% tax on top of that, you've made like $1.50. Was that $1.50 worth your hour and a half of time of it? And maybe it was, because you're doing that. No, but like really thinking about how much you're actually making on things. And the only way you can do that is by tracking it. But it is not fun at all. The shopping's the fun part. Does this come in gold? Says she 100% agrees. And I knew she would. I love her. If you saw my recent live with her, she does retail. She's a retail manager. So she has lots of really helpful business information. So now that my whole family is calling me, I think we're going to call it good. Unless you guys have something else. Melissa, I really appreciate you juggling the children and doing this. You had lots.
Sorry. It was kind of a nightmare for you. I'm sorry.
No, it was great. And this is real life. This is why I love doing the lives. Because this is real life. This is what we do as resellers. We juggle 3 moms while we're not 3 moms. Well, we are 3 moms, but we juggle 3 kids while we're trying to get something else done. And it is.
The only reason why mine are quiet is because I'm 2 hours later than you, so we put them to bed already.
Oh yes, right. Yeah, we're like right at bedtime, which is probably where you're to, like they're ready. My 5-year-old's like, Mom, like let's go to bed. All right. Thank you guys so much,
Sarah.
If you have questions, you can definitely shoot me a DM, or Rebecca from Florida. Her mom is, or Melissa, anyone. Their information is down below. Rebecca from Florida's mom is a CPA. So if it's something we can't answer, we will reach out and ask her. You can leave comments down below and I'll make sure that everyone gets them. Oh, sorry, my husband is making comments. He's excited that I admitted on live TV forever that he is right. You can leave comments down below and we will get to them. If you like content like this, make sure to subscribe and hit the notifications. I want to try and do a live. I'm doing a live again tomorrow, but do one at least once a week. This is a community. I want to build other people who have information. I don't know everything. Lots of very useful information out there in the community. If you're like Liz and you know lots of things about all of the things that would be useful, reach out to me and we will set up a live, because I want to have all the people on and talk all the things that will help resellers. So,
Liz has some great, I want Liz on here. She's talking about deductions to compensate for income as a reseller.
Oh yeah, so she says if you have a spouse with a W-2 job, I recommend they drop all their deductions to 0 to compensate for the income you as a reseller are making. It's a start. So I'm reaching out to Liz. Hit the notification bell so you get notified when she comes on.
Yeah.
And I think this is what, so we file, my CPA files us all together, and I think we do that to kind of like offset and get all the things they do. So we don't have to. So that is it. That is my spiel. I hope everyone has a wonderful night. I will put Rebecca's, what were you sending me? Your spreadsheet.
Yeah, I can make a blank one, but I mean, it's nothing like yours. It's
No,
really
but I think it's good for people to see.
It serves a purpose. It's good.
So I'll send it to you, and then you can share it because it's just a simple spreadsheet, you know, for people to input their own data.
Perfect. I will do that. I'll probably put it on the link then because you're going to share the link. Right.
Say it again. I'll
You'll
do a
share
link.
the link.
Yeah, to Google Sheets.
Okay, yeah. So I will put that as a link on my link tree. If you want to have a spreadsheet like she did, that's it. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate all of your information and sharing it with us. I hope everyone has a great night.
Thanks.